How to plan a fitness session. Hi, I'm Hayley from Parallel Coaching, and in this video we're going to explore how you can plan an exercise session with your clients without overwhelm or without frustration or confusion. Now this is for you if you're a trainee FITPRO or if you're already qualified but are quite new to planning, and as a result maybe find it a little bit overwhelming with all the options you might have when you're putting together a session for your clients. So this is going to really make things much more simple. And I'm going to use two analogies to help me. One's about a sandwich and one's about the solar system. So although they sound a little bit abstract, they're going to really help you have some foundations, and those foundations will remove that overwhelm and allow you to move forwards and start getting results with confidence with your clients. Now, before we move on into the content of today, I just want to let you know there are 3 mock questions alongside this video that will allow you to test your knowledge, and this will help you sort of take away information from today's content and check that it's gone in and allow you to start moving forwards with your planning. So let's go into today's information. Today I want to start looking at how we can simplify and structure your planning, and this will avoid all of your overwhelm. So first of all, I want to explore that analogy of a sandwich. Now a sandwich is great, isn't it? When you're hungry, it fills you up. It serves a purpose very well. It's got a good objective to filling you up when you're hungry. It's simple. It's just 2 bits of bread and a filling. It's structured in the fact that you know it's 2 bits of bread and a filling in the middle. It's also quite generic. Like a sandwich in so many different types can fill you up. Like, you know, a sandwich will do it. But also it can be very specifically individualized. One person might want a gluten-free ham and cheese sandwich. One person might want a specific vegan type of sandwich that they can put together, or a salad sandwich. Any different types of sandwiches you could put together. You might have a sourdough sandwich. It doesn't matter, because the idea is that the simplified structure is still the same, but you can add individuality to create the perfect thing that you really wanted. Whether it's toasted or whether it's a BLT or anything in between. Think about your favourite sandwich and use that as we move through today's analogy. Now we're going to use the sandwich analogy to really understand the planning structure of a fitness session. Now, just like a sandwich has 2 bits of bread and a nice bit of filling in the middle, whatever your preferred filling is, then you've got the 2 bits of bread are your warm-up and your cool-down, and the bit in the middle is your main component that will really help target your client's anatomy and physiology to get the results they require in order to progress towards their goal. So we've now got a sandwich. We've got our warm-up and our cool-down either side, and then we've got the filling in the middle, which is our main component. So let's stay with this analogy of the sandwich, and let's get the bread out and start setting up the warm-up. So when you're making your sandwich, get the bread out on the side, you lay it out on the countertop or the worktop, and you start spreading on the spread that you want, that's your sort of sandwich spread or margarine, etc. So we start off with the warm-up. Now we've got this nice square bit of bread. It doesn't matter if it's gluten-free or lots of seeds or white bread. We all agree it's 1 bit of bread. Now that is the warm-up. Every single session you do, every sandwich you eat, must have a warm-up. If we don't do a warm-up, our clients aren't psychologically and physiologically ready to train in the main component. So the bread on the outside is key, and that is going to be our warm-up. Now this is where my next analogy will filter on in, and I want you to think about a solar system in relation to Mars, the planet. It's a warm planet, and as we're warming up our clients, we want to use the acronym of Mars to be able to say, right, let's get our clients red hot and red warm so that they're able to function properly in the main session. Now we've got an acronym to help you with that. That's basically MARS, M-A-R-S. M is for mobility, so you're going to do some sort of work that will mobilize for your clients. Now that mobility is for the synovial joints, just to really get them moving. It's not stretching, it's just moving the synovial joints a little. Then into activation of any weaker muscles or activation of their generic posture and core before they go in and start their session, and that activates the muscles. Then the R is for raising the pulse, taking about 5 minutes or so to increase the pulse up to about an RPE 4 out of 10, so that they're really nicely warm. And then you might tail that off at the end before then going into S, which is stretching. And then this stretches, you might use dynamic or you might use static stretches. Either way, they're going to be maintenance stretches that don't last very long, but start to challenge the range of movement at the joints. So that's your Mars acronym. It gets you warm, just like the nice warm Mars planet that we have in the solar system. So that is our Mars. That's the structure for that first bit of bread that is the warm-up. And that's generic structure, isn't it? I could have somebody that is an elite hockey player and I need to be able to warm them up in a different way, but I could still use that Mars structure. I'm still using bread in my sandwich. But now I can start adding the details specific to that client. They wanted a bit more seedy, they wanted sourdough, they wanted thicker slice, thinner slice, brown slice. That's the differences, the individuality that you add to the generic template. Keep your generic template, keep your generic warm-up, and then add the individuality. If you've got a client that's got long-term conditions, maybe they've got asthma, maybe they need to have an extended raised pulse. We're going to hold for longer where they gradually build up that pulse and that RPE. Maybe your client's got arthritis and needs a little bit longer to mobilize. These are the different things that come into play to make the bread individual, to make that warm-up individual. Now, that's Mars. That's our warm-up done. The first bit of bread is buttered. It's sat on the side waiting for the next bit. Now, instead of putting the main in now, whilst we've got the bread out, let's go and sort out the cool down. This is going to be the second bit of bread that we need for our sandwich. So you get the second bit of bread out and you start buttering it up. And this is us planning our cool down. Now, the cool down is also going to relate to part of the solar system, but instead of it being very warm, we now want to cool them down. So let's go right to the other end of the solar system and pick the planet Pluto. Pluto is a cold planet, and as a result, it's going to help us work our way through our cool down. That means it's another acronym. So we start with P for pulse lowering. This is going to gradually bring the heart rate down, maybe using some cardiovascular exercises to start bringing that RPE back down if it's already been elevated. Or this could kind of work as like a rewarm if needed. Then you go into L, which is lengthening. And here you're going to hold your stretches a little bit longer, do more developmental stretches, and it'll allow you to have a chance to be able to really work through any tight areas that your client has. Then you might go on to U, T, and O, which sounds like you're already at the end of a session. These are the things that start to conclude the session. U is whereby you want to understand what your client really needs from you or what they've enjoyed from that session. Understand their opinions. And then T is any tips and advice you want to give them moving forward. Well, did they need to bring a water bottle with them next time? Do they need to remember to stop turning their toes out and start turning them forward? What are the things that would be a good tips and advice moving forward for them? And then O is about organise your next session and over-deliver. Relate it to the goal. Over-deliver as much as you can and make sure the next session is in the diary. And that's Pluto. So that gives you everything you need to know for your cool down. It's a generic template, but you might, for different clients, add small bits of individuality. Now, those small bits of individuality could be my client's got really tight hip flexors, so I'm going to spend longer stretching the hip flexors. Or my client has really tight hamstrings, I'll spend longer stretching the hamstrings. They are the individual things that you will add to your generic template of your cool down. So now we have our 2 bits of bread, we've got our warm up, we've got our cool down, we've got our Mars and our Pluto, and then from here we need to decide on the filling. Now the filling is often the bit that FITPROs get really confused on. They get overwhelmed because there's so much choice. If you walk into a deli to get a sandwich made for you, you look at all the different choices you have in front of you, so many different things you could choose. Are you going to go for a chicken tikka? Are you going to go for a BLT? Are you going to go for all these different types of foods that you could consume? All these different things that you might have inside your sandwich. And that's the same thing with the FITPRO, is that they go, well, I don't know where to start. Look at all the exercises that my client could do in the gym. Maybe I'll just pick my favourite ones. But actually it's about it serving the purpose of the goal. Now the main filling here, let's just say we keep it really simple for now, and let's just call it a ham and cheese sandwich. And the reason why I want to call it a nice simple ham and cheese sandwich is because you can have so many fillings, but we need to decide on something to get you some structure straight away. Also, there are 2 things in here. Resistance training is going to be represented by the ham, and cardiovascular training is going to be represented by the cheese. That then means that you have a full amount of all components of fitness being covered. So all components of fitness, we've got resistance and cardio in the main component, but then we've taken care of the flexibility component inside the warm-up and the cool-down. So we now have all the main components of fitness starting to be used throughout all of the session. So we've got our ham and cheese sandwich. Now, on top of that, we want to think about the frequency of sessions that our clients can do. If they can do 1 or 2 sessions per week, then I know I need both the ham and the cheese in there. I need to make sure they've got the resistance training and the cardiovascular training, and it's a whole body session inside that one session, because they've not got enough frequency or enough dose throughout the week for me to vary it too much. Whereas if I've got a client that has got multiple sessions per week, let's just say 3 or more, and maybe they're going to go and do the runs on their own, so they go and do their cardiovascular on their own running sessions, I might have a session whereby I just have a good ham sandwich, which is basically the bread, lots of resistance training for a whole body approach or even split routine, and then I have my cool down as the second bit of bread. So you might just have a ham sandwich. You might just have a cheese sandwich if that's something that you want to work with your client on, but they go and do the resistance session separately on a different day. And part of deciding about how much cheese and how much ham you're going to have is about your client's preferences, but it's also about their goals and how biased you need to be towards a specific goal. If your client wants to be able to improve their 10K race pace for running, then it needs to be biased probably towards a cardiovascular goal. So you're expecting more cheese sandwiches in that week than you are a mixture of ham and cheese or lots of ham sandwiches. So if that makes sense, it's about choosing the biases that make the filling specific to your client's needs. And some of those are going to be the principles of training: individuality, adaptability, specificity. Can you be specific to the goal that they have? So you have this real clear understanding of using your principles of training here inside your filling part of your sandwich, that main component, to make sure you're covering everything you need to get the client's goal, but you still have the simple generic template of your sandwich to know that you're not getting confused or overwhelmed. And it's a great place for you to start. If you get overwhelmed easily looking at planning, then I definitely suggest you just create a generic template that you could use with any client. And then from there, every client that you come across, you make tweaks to it. You just change small things, which is exactly the same as ordering a sandwich. You know you're going to have a sandwich with bread on either side. You know you're going to probably have a basic filling that is quite satiating for you and something that you like. But the individuality of that sandwich comes with the needs of the client. And that's where that all fits into place. Now, simplicity avoids overwhelm. So the less choices you have and the more you like, it's a ham and cheese sandwich, but I just need to tweak how much ham, how much cheese, the more clarity you will have with less types of overwhelm along the way. So start generic and then gradually make it more individual for the client, depending on what their needs are. Now that brings us to the end of today. You now have a full sandwich, which is your full session plan for your clients. You have your bread on top, which is your warm up, your bread on the bottom, which is your cool down. Remember, we use Mars and Pluto to help us structure those, and the main session in the middle, which is specific to your client, but still follows a generic template and looks at the biases between cardiovascular and resistance training. Now, remember, there are 3 mock questions alongside this video to help you test your knowledge. And also, Neil and I have also done a podcast on this specific topic where we dived in deep about planning and imposter syndrome and overwhelm. So it's called Planning Imposter Syndrome, and it's on our FITPRO Sessions podcast, season 10, episode 7. If you haven't already checked that out, then there will also be a link for that inside the show notes, so that you can follow us on our FITPRO Sessions podcast, which can be iTunes or Spotify, and you can extend the discussion there. If you have any questions or you want to feedback and tell me what your big takeaway is today about sandwiches and planning, then drop it in the comments box below, and I look forward to hearing from you and your responses. Also, if you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the little red button so you can subscribe and get lots of notifications about all of our future videos as they come up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.